Hi, welcome back to another Heather Mac Reacts to Everything. Today I've decided to delve a little deeper into the Tales from the Front Desk Reddit subreddit. And y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited. If you like videos like this, make sure you subscribe because we are posting 7 days a week on this channel, new videos on Friday. And if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get into this first Tales from the Front Desk story. This says Bridezilla and her extended family destroy 70 hotel rooms. 70 hotel rooms. Now, I worked at a hotel for 2, 3, maybe a little bit longer than that, because once I left full time and I was a phlebotomist, I was still doing a weekend day or two a month so that I could keep my hotel discount benefits for me and my friends and family, because they're really, really good benefits. But anyway, so yeah, I have a little bit of a unique experience because I've worked in the restaurant in the hotel and I've worked at the front desk. So I feel like I can relate, and destroying 70 hotel rooms is wild. So let's get into this story. Who else loves Bridezilla's stories? Because boy, do I have one. Buckle up because it's a long one. Okay, I don't need the intro. I'm a front office manager at a hotel that has 132 rooms. So they destroyed almost more than half of them. And the wedding party that stayed with us last night had rented out 70 of them. But that's not all. We also had not one, but 2 school sports teams in-house, renting a combined total of 30 rooms. We used to get hockey kids all the time, and Lord, their equipment stank so bad. We had to make a rule that they weren't allowed to bring it into their rooms, because then the rooms would smell so bad that we literally wouldn't be able to sell the room the next night because it smelled so bad. So instead, we had them leave all of their hockey equipment in one of the conference rooms. And I think they kept the ozone machine running. It was just so much fun. Needless to say, our hotel was very well bursting at the seams, especially since each group wanted to be as far away from the other as possible, and we had to pack regular travelers between them. Haha, party hardy, am I right? Hindsight is 2020, and we should have realized we were in for a shitstorm 2 days ago. Bridezilla, her groom, King Kong, and the wedding party of monsters all checked in then. The men checked into one of our largest suites for a bachelor party, while the women checked into another for their bachelorette party. We fully expected the men to cause a riot because they were hauling in beer literally by the keg. Oh, that would not fly in a Courtyard Marriott. In reality, Bridezilla and her Bridezilla maids were the ones that went on a rampage. Not only did they tally up a total of 3 noise complaints, the 4th one gets you evicted, and over $100 worth of pantry charges, but they actually paid a group of kids $20 each to run up and down the hallways. That's mature. I can only suspect it was because they meant to use the kids as a distraction from their own roughhousing. The employee on duty that night said a guest came down to report that they thought the room was being used to film a Girls Gone Wild video. Gross. But the sun eventually set and I came into work my morning shift the next day. I stupidly didn't see all of the red flags sailing right in front of my face. Less than 15 minutes into my shift, Bridezilla's maid of honor comes down. She sees that I'm standing behind the desk and wearing a name tag, so she rightfully treats me like I'm not a human being. Because as we all know, people that work in customer service are just robots in cheap flesh suits. Beep boop. She chews me out a little bit for my employees' despicable behavior last night towards herself and her best friends. I run through my programming and run apologize template 012 and say, we're sorry to have made her feel disrespected and insulted, but inform her that her room had multiple noise complaints against it. We're very strict on our noise policy, ma'am. I told her, you aren't the only guest in the hotel, and if you cannot be courteous to our other guests, we will kindly ask that you seek other accommodations. Bridezilla's maid of honor didn't like that. She said, well, it's just my opinion, but as someone who's a part of a wedding that brought your hotel more than 60 rooms worth of business, I think you guys should be a little more lenient with the rules for us. Unfortunately, my SAS module was not installed at that time due to lack of sleep. So instead of going Minnesota nice on her, I told her, we're trying to provide a consistent experience for all guests. I know you guys are throwing a party and it's a happy time for many of you, but we cannot bend on our noise policy. After that exchange, she has a list of people arriving today that she wants me to assign to specific rooms because I have to make sure certain people aren't rooming too close together. Some of them have cheated on the other ones, but they promise to behave themselves if they don't have to look at each other. Classy. Now, I may just be a simple robot that cannot consume liquid beverages, but in my opinion, I don't believe exes and alcohol mix well. Maid of honor also asked for housekeeping to come up ASAP to clean their trashed room because they're going to use it as a prep room for the wedding. The housekeeping executive doesn't even show up for another hour, and I refuse to leave the desk to spend time cleaning their room. I told her she'd have to wait a bit before someone came in, to which she again offered her opinion and said, I really think a hotel this big should have someone always on duty for stuff like this. We always had someone on duty for stuff like that. I mean, I wouldn't have sent him to clean a room, like to clean a whole room, but like there was always one front desk and one like what do they call him? The houseman? I'm blanking right now, but he was just like the dude who like ran towels to the room or like fixed a clogged toilet or like kicked some kids out that were being rude. Like he was like the dude of the night and I had to man the front desk. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't send him to go clean a whole ass room. He doesn't have time for that. He has a lot of other things that he needs to be doing. By now it's 9 a.m., basically dawn of the second day. And would you believe it? People for the wedding are already showing up to check in. It's wonderful that all these people are so punctual that they're actually an entire 6 hours early just so they aren't late. Graciously, we were not full the previous night, so I allowed them all to check into rooms as they showed up. But you want to know what I honestly thought? They all looked like clones of that woman from the That Is My Opinion gift that I keep referencing. And I did not want to test how well my eardrums could stand up to a whole choir of sirens. The small highlight to the busy morning is that there was a professional that came in and did the hair for all the kids involved in the wedding party. She did up flowers in all the girls' hair. They all looked fucking adorable running through the breakfast area and we're so excited to show off their new dresses to anyone that walked past them. I hope Bridezilla doesn't influence those kids' behavior too much. The rest of the morning passes by in a flash. I'd done at least 40 of the 75 arrivals we had for that day. The PM shifts arrive. I catch her up. Okay. At 5 o'clock, she had a line of people out the door. All of them are a part of the wedding group and screaming at her because they're now late for the wedding. More than 5 women were demanding she give them keys so they could change in the rooms without having them bother with trivial things like payment or signatures. She was a trooper and stood her ground, asking all of them to wait their turn to check in. My houseman, see, I was right, on duty even offered to help her if she signed into the second computer for him, but that small ray of hope was quickly squashed. A mother on the 3rd floor called down to inform us that her son had swallowed a large quantity of pool water. The pool water had upset his stomach and he ended up vomiting all over the elevator and the 3rd floor. Fun. The very same floor that the wedding party was pre-assigned and checking into, so he had to go deal with that. Once that rush was over with, all was quiet for a few peaceful hours. Then it was time for the shuttle to pick them up. Weddings usually all follow the same pattern. They ask for shuttle service from 8 p.m. until 1 a.m. Happy to pay our outlandish fee for the private use of the shuttle. Then no one bothers to use it until 11 p.m., at which point the alcohol makes them view the shuttles as a clown car, and they all believe they've joined the circus. Tonight followed the same pattern with only one exception. At 8:30, the driver had a single woman ride it back to the hotel, sobbing her eyes out. She told him that she saw her fiance making out with her cousin behind the reception hall and couldn't believe it. He tries to offer her comforting words on the way back, but I'm told it was an all-around awkward 15-minute ride. When she gets back to the hotel, she demanded of the desk that we take her card off file and make her ex-fiance pay for it. Except we don't, because we need him to come down and slide his card. The chances of that happening were slim to none. So my shuttle driver was busy acting as Ronald McDonald Clown Bus, stuffing close to triple the legal capacity into it, since not a single one of them bothered listening to him. I'm sure you all have that one burning question on your mind. What about those sports teams? Have they caused any problems? Can you guess the answer? If you guess yes, then you're right. I can tell this person is a writer because I'm a writer, and she's fucking verbose. Okay? Like, girl, we could have trimmed like 300 words off this story and still gotten the point across, because when I tell you we're not even halfway through this story, oh my God. Okay. One of the teams had rented out a conference room to have a pizza party. They were informed several times they only had the room from 5 until 9. The children stuffed themselves full of pizza, ran off to the swimming pool. Parents are shit-faced. The hotel staff is supposed to be babysitting the gremlins in the pool. Now it's 10:30 at night. Meanwhile, the one singular mother that was being responsible stopped by the desk with about 20 bottles of Diet Coke and her son. Apparently, our vending machine is broken on the second floor. She had said that her son put in the money and then proceeded to press the button 100 times while waiting for his soda. Okay, don't care. The other parents back in the conference room had been waving off the front desk threats until we finally got a lucky break. The night audit came in a half hour early because the weather was bad and she didn't want to be late. My night auditor has plenty of years under her belt and has seen far worse. She called the police within seconds of walking in and informed the sports parents that she was doing so. When the police arrived, the parents had all belligerently returned to their rooms, and my PM desk shift was able to go home after a stressful day at work. Okay, that's when the fun starts. The officers got called away only a few minutes after arriving, but they knew exactly where they went after that. They actually got called to the reception hall where their wedding was being held. Apparently, they needed to shut down the bar because the parents were buying drinks for the kids who were 18 to 20. Plus, one of the kids that was drinking became heavily intoxicated, stole the keys to his mother's car from her purse, and crashed it into another car in the parking lot. The kid was fine, but probably suffered a wicked hangover this morning. The reception hall had called the police to kick them all out, and that's when they became our problem again. See, the driver who should have still had pickups at 12 and 12:30 and 1 now had to pick them all up at 12. There were at least 35 people cramming into the bus, each of which was holding a beer glass with at least half a pint of beer in it. He put his foot down, turned off the shuttle, and told them they weren't allowed to have an open alcoholic beverage while in the vehicle, and he would not drive them back until they disposed of it. Needless to say, it didn't go over well. None of them listened to him and just berated him to bring them back because it was cold. One of the officers on site came over and told the driver that they'd be willing to escort him back and would overlook the many passengers and their open alcohol just so they could get these people inside. So when the shuttle and the police entourage showed up at the hotel half an hour later, it was like unleashing Pandora's box upon the building. 4 officers even stayed around to help the night audit deal with all the drunk and disorderly because there were a lot of complaints. The first thing that happened was that someone was complaining about a room on the first floor. Someone was attempting to do an amateur remake of 50 Shades of Grey, and we're not being subtle about it. Then there was screaming and yelling and the breaking of lamps. Remember that cousin that broke up with someone's relationship earlier? Well, she apparently had a fiance of her own. And while she was doing the nasty with another man, her drunken fiance walked in on them. It didn't end well, and we had to evict all 3 of them. Meanwhile, on the 3rd floor, Girls Gone Wild had resumed in full force. The night audit went up with one of the officers to tell the group that this was their final warning before they were evicted from the hotel as well. While she was doing so, a man in the room across the hall opened his door to yell at the night audit. His exact words were, "Why are you dragging me out of bed? Do something about this damn noise." Before the officer, that I presume the old man didn't see, could say anything, the night audit spun on him and said, "You get out of your bed on your own volition, sir. We're dealing with the situation." It's all of the same song and dance for the next few hours. People call to complain. The audit and officers deal with it, and eventually everyone slips into sleep, which means blacked out drunk. Apparently, the officers were having a slow night, and 2 of them stayed until the night audit was done since she didn't feel safe on her own. My housemate stayed until 3 a.m. to help the night audit with moral support and cleaning the hallways because they were trashed with a capital T. We don't know what 310 was doing in their room at 4 in the morning, but 210 swears all of the way to Sunday that they were practicing an Irish jig and falling. There was a lot of falling. But the crazy thing is that when the audit got up to the room, the entire floor floor was silent. Towards the end of the evening, a man comes down to our pantry, takes an armful of random items, and starts walking away. He's clearly drunk because the officers watched him bewilderingly, and the night audit calls out, asking if the man would like to charge his items to his room. Said man must have actually been 3 deer in a trench coat because he sprinted off the second she asked. An officer caught him, but he was so drunk that our night audit took pity and said that he wouldn't press charges and asked to just escort him back to the room. And now today, I come in at 7 a.m. and I'm caught up to speed. I'll tell you, seeing a cop standing around at the front desk does not do my heart any good. If I have to come in and see a cop, I fully expect them to be there because someone got murdered. The morning was quiet, too quiet, and then I hear it. The drunken heavy stomps down the staircase, the screaming agony of a stomach demanding food above alcohol, and Bridezilla descends into the lobby with a hunger that can only be satiated by screaming at the front office manager. So I take it, listening to her scream and demand that everyone in her party be refunded, all 70 rooms. She can't believe that we had the audacity to call the cops on her friends and family. It's a wedding, she shouts over and over. We're supposed to have fun, not be treated like a bunch of dogs. I really didn't want to deal with her bullshit, so I told her, ma'am, you must keep it down or else I will have to call the cops back. Our employees were verbally threatened by some of your guests last night and did not feel safe. I wanted to say that if they didn't want to be treated like dogs, they shouldn't act like dogs then, but I felt that may be a little too unprofessional and couldn't override my own programming. So the wedding party began to check out, but not before they trashed breakfast. There was food dropped, coffee spilled, and my 2 breakfast attendants swear it was done on purpose. When they were cleaning up some spilled coffee, a bridesmaid knocked over another cup of coffee and they all snickered at them. What is this, Mean Girls 2? And that is my tale of Bridezilla. I've already gotten 2 emails from our guest relations department saying that there have been complaints opened up against us about employee behavior last night, but they're both from members of the wedding party, so all I have to do is submit a copy of the police report and I think we'll be good. I pray that all of you will never have to deal with this with bridezillas of your own, and if you do, Godspeed and good luck. This is the reason why when I worked for the Courtyard Marriott, I, for a while, was doing overnight audits, like this situation. And we also had tons of weddings from March until October, November is wedding season. And we would have weddings almost every single weekend. And you know what my smart ass manager made us do? Tell the whole bridal party, y'all, come down to the lobby. Come down to the lobby, bring all your drinks. Everybody have a good time down here, because the lobby was so far away from any guest room. So y'all can make a mess, cause a ruckus down here in the lobby, and then go off to your rooms when you're done drinking and partying. We only have a lobby to clean up after that, and there are no noise complaints. We never got a single noise complaints. And like I said, I worked audit. I did Friday and Saturday nights for like a year, maybe 9 months or more. So yeah, that shit worked real well. Obviously, these people didn't get the message. Or maybe they have a hotel where the lobby is close to guest rooms. I don't know, but ours were not that close to guest rooms, and it was perfect. Let's read some of the comments here. Please tell me y'all charged them an arm and a leg for all their damages and any refunds or discounts you had to give to other guests. Yes. OP responded, oh, we charged the room we evicted for the broken lamp, coffee pot, and TV. I actually only had to give out 1 gift certificate as compensation, surprisingly. So not sure if it's worth an extra headache to charge Bridezilla for just that. Next says, wow, I hope your boss takes note of how you and the team handled this. Fair. They did do a good job. Next says, holy Hannah, that was a wild ride. Your night auditor deserves a thank you party all on her own. I mean, at least a cake for the poor woman. I would like to know what you thought about that story in the comments, and let's get on to the next one. This says, congratulations on your wedding and your first dumb mistake as newlyweds. Well, that deserves a fan clack. Let's just get right into it. A couple drove into my entrance. They both were still in their wedding attire and dress. They wanted to check in. This was their wedding night. So far, so good. I said congrats to the newlyweds and I started my check-in. I asked for their ID and credit card. They said they didn't have it. I chuckled a bit because I thought we were still in a funny mood, making small talk and light jokes. But no, they said they didn't have it. They explained that this reservation was the wedding gift from her family and friends. Everything is paid already. True, but to check in a hotel, you still have to present an ID and credit card, I said. I don't have it, they said. Then you cannot check in, I replied. But it's my wedding night, the bride responded, as if that is an ultimate hall pass for her to do whatever she wants. I then looked at the groom. Wait a minute, you drove here. Where is your driver's license? I left it at home. And where is home? I asked. In blank town. You mean to tell me that you drove 2 hours from your town on the highway and you don't carry a driver's license? What if you got stopped by the police or you need to go to the hospital or check into a hotel? You know that is an offense, right? Driving without carrying your license? I lost it with this guy. But it's our wedding night. Lady, as if that would allow you to be above the laws. At this point, I decided I wouldn't check them in, but then one of my high tier member guests passed by. She complimented the bride and her dress. Then the couple pled to this lady, asking her to check in for them and put down her own credit card for incidentals. To my surprise, she was nice enough to agree to it. However, I, being diligent as I am, informed and emphasized her that the incidental fee would be charged out of her card should this couple damage the room or something, and she agreed to it. They check in thanks to the high tier member. 30 minutes later, I got a call from their room. I went to their room per their request. When I entered the room, there was a hole on my ceiling about the size of a champagne cap. It looked fresh too. The groom looked at me. I swear to God that was already there when we entered. I sighed. I returned to my desk and called the nice high tier member. I informed her about the damage in the room, which got her all riled up. Don't you dare charge my card, she told me. I will talk to my manager, I said. I passed it on to my manager in the morning and clocked out. I heard from him later that he didn't want to upset our high tier member, so he didn't charge. He only told to my maintenance to do something about the hole. I hope this couple doesn't reproduce. That is shocking that some random stranger would be like, yeah, just use my credit card. And if you want to buy a $20 bottle of Voss water, go ahead and put that on your incidentals. I'll take care of it. Lady, are you crazy? You don't know these people. Who cares if they just got married? That doesn't make them good people. That doesn't make them any more trustworthy than anybody else. This is crazy cuckoo bananas. Let's read some comments. I get that the high tier member wanted to help some newlyweds, but that was totally stupid on her part. A wise man once said, always bet on stupid, and she proved it. Personally, though, I would have made the high tier member sign the regular card that way. There was no way for her to say she didn't know what she was agreeing to. Next says, personally, I would have said the incidentals aren't the real problem. The real problem is I don't have any way to know who these people are, so I can't check them into the reservation that they claim is under their name. I can make you a second reservation, and if you give them the key, that's on you, but you have to pay for their stay in order, whatever. Things are a little bit different at the Marriott, at least the rules that we had. And of course, the edit on this said that she's from Canada, and that's why you have to have your driver's license all times. If you came to the hotel, I don't think we normally ask for IDs. No, we didn't ask for an ID. We just asked for a credit card. And if someone else was paying for you, we have a credit card authorization form. So we could have sent that person a credit card authorization form. They could have sent it back to us, and then we would use that card for that reservation and for any incidentals. So if someone was paying for a room and didn't want that person, the person receiving the room, receiving the gift, they didn't want them to be weighed down by any kind of financial responsibility, they could use a credit card authorization form, and then they didn't need a credit card. Not sure how long ago this story was from, but again, it's in Canada, and I'm sure all different companies have different rules about how they handle things. So That's just how we would have done it. That high tier lady, fucking idiot. I would like to know what you all thought about this one in the comments, and let's get on to the next story. This is simply titled Bridezilla Meltdown. About 5 years ago, our owners remodeled. One of the most popular room combos is a suite/double-double at the end of the hall. The rooms do not adjoin, but the rooms are next to each other, located at the T at the end of a hall, with a door in the hall that closes the rooms off, making a mega suite, if you will. The D/D is just a standard double-double, but the suite is actually kind of neato. Sofa bed and 2 comfy chairs in the living room, wet bar, dining table, half bath for the living room, and very pretty full bath for the bedroom with a vanity and clawfoot tub. What the owners thought was a good idea and a retreat for families has become super popular with bridal parties. The half bath in the suite, we are told, is genius, and the full bath makes for some very nice getting ready pictures. So about 3 months ago, my coworker booked the suite double-double at the end of the hall for a bridal party. The person making the reservation, who I will call Bridezilla from here on out for obvious reasons to unfold, requests an early check-in explaining it's for a wedding. My coworker states that we are happy to put down the request, but it is only that, a request. We will not and absolutely cannot guarantee an early check-in, even for a wedding. Bridezilla asks how to guarantee an early check-in, and she is informed the only way to guarantee is to book the night before. Bridezilla scoffs at the idea at paying for a full night when she just needs a few hours, and the coworker tells her that most of our brides actually do book the night before and stay with us to relax and get a good night's sleep before the big day, with an added bonus of not having to rush to the location in the morning. Fun fact, I actually got married at a location where you could stay on site. So we did stay the night before the wedding and the night of the wedding. So we were on site for everything. It was very relaxing, I will agree. Bridezilla gets all snotty and tells coworker not to bother that the night before, and we are just trying to scam her, and she will get her early check-in. Will you, bitch? Will you? Say about that. At least once a week since the reservation was booked, Bridezilla has called to make sure we know about her request. And wouldn't you know it, about a month before the wedding, a family books those rooms, checking out on Bridezilla's wedding day. After the family books their reservation, Bridezilla calls again, reminding us of her request, and we let her know that she might want to come up with a backup plan, that we would be happy to attempt an early check-in, but the only way that is going to happen is if by some very small microscopic miracle, the family checks out very early, but they have until checkout at noon, and our reservation does not technically start until 3 p.m. We're like, hey, we really do not think we can get you in early. We allow cancellations and changes up until 48 hours prior to arrival. So if you need to cancel and book elsewhere, we completely understand, and best wishes on your special day. She tells us that the family will check out early. We will send HK or housekeeping over immediately after checkout to clean, and it better be spotless. Bitch, how do you think I'm going to tell someone they have to leave before the time that they've paid for? What are we going to do? Call the cops and have them removed from a room they paid for? Like, are you dumb? This bitch. We tell her that is not how any of that is going to work, that the family has until noon, and housekeeping would be happy to attend to the room right after checkout if and only if they are currently attending to rooms on that floor in that area. Our housekeeping staff has a system and we do not mess with it, period, no exceptions ever. You simply do not tell these overworked, underpaid, amazing coworkers how to do their job. They could clean up after your murder and no one would ever know. Day of the wedding arrives and so does Bridezilla at 10 a.m. She steps up to the front desk and guess what? The room is still occupied. She just starts shaking her head and tells us no, she is checking in now. Hair and makeup will be here in an hour and she needs to shower and checked over and over again. And we had her request, right? We knew about her request, just do what she requested. We tell her, yes, we have her request. It was a request, not a guarantee. There is nothing we can do but wait at this point. She pulls out her phone and starts to dial, screaming to people that the room is not ready. In the middle of this, someone who I can only assume is a bridesmaid shows up, talks to Bridezilla, and comes to the desk asking why there is a holdup. We tell bridesmaid there is no holdup. Bridezilla booked the room for tonight. Check-in is at 3 p.m. Wedding room will be ready at 3 p.m. Bridesmaid says, no, you said we could get an early check-in. We tell her, no, we could put in a request. It's that R word again. That we warned Bridezilla since day one that we cannot guarantee an early check-in, and warned her about a month ago that a backup plan would be a very good idea since the room is currently occupied. Bridezilla asks what we can do, and I tell her, wait, we cannot kick the guests in the room out. They paid for it until noon. Bridezilla says, yeah, I guess not. Problem is, wedding starts at 3 p.m. You dumb fucking bitch. Why would you leave it to chance and like your bullying attitude for your wedding? Like, I'm sorry. I have a rule about events, and that is I want day of to be as simple, as concise, and as stress-free as humanly possible. That means I don't book a hotel room for 3 p.m. when my wedding starts at 3 p.m. That's just fucking moronic. And when they told you book the night before, why didn't you just book the night before? If anything, you should have booked the night before and checked out that morning and done all your things early in the morning and then gone somewhere else. You could have still just paid for one night, but you would have had the hours you actually needed, you dumb shit. Oh, goodness. I need to have a little talk with the bride. Bridesmaid goes back to Bridezilla and they begin to have a very animated whisper argument. Father of the bride walks in and Bridezilla tells him to tell us to let her into her room. He rolls his eyes and asks us what the problem is. We informed him that there is no problem. Early check-in again was a request, not a guarantee, that we offered to book her in the room the night before, but she refused, that she booked the room for tonight. Check-in is at 3 p.m. Room will be ready at 3 p.m. He said that is not what we told his daughter. We tell him, yes, that is exactly what we told his daughter, and we have the recording to prove it. Dad goes back to Bridezilla and tears her a new one, asking how she could be so stupid as to let the whole day hang on a maybe. That is what I'm fucking saying, you dumb ass. Why would you pin an entire day on maybe, perhaps, request, not guaranteed? You're a fucking dumbass and you are the only one to blame for your fucking problems today. She said she didn't want to pay the extra money. He shouts back, when it is this important, you pay the extra money for the guarantee. And if she hadn't been such a stubborn brat, she'd be in the room and her brother wouldn't have been left to sleep in his car last night. So they needed a hotel last night anyway. Stupid. She runs to the desk and yells at us to give her a key, knocks down the stand with the tourist brochures next to the desk, runs up the stairs and in the direction of where I guess she thinks the room is, knocks on the door of what I think she thinks is her room, and demands that the guests in that room let her inside along with housekeeping and front desk, demands that all of us just to let her into the room. While the meltdown is taking place, a bridesmaid asks if there's a bathroom or a dressing room, anything they can borrow to start getting ready. We offer a small conference room that has a bathroom attached. Dad picks up Bridezilla and tosses her into the conference room where hair and makeup is beginning to set up. Bridezilla just keeps saying, I was going to pay for a whole extra night, Dad. Oh, I wasn't going to pay for a whole extra night, Dad. I didn't need a night. I just needed a few hours. Dad says he cannot wait for this day to be over because maybe he'll get his daughter back. And if not, she's someone else's problem now. Weddings just bring out the worst in everybody. Dear God, if you are young or if you are old and you are about to get married, don't do it. Just elope. Just elope and then have a nice big like restaurant, even like rent out a hall and cater it and just have like a celebration with your friends and family. don't go through all the mess, all of the hullabaloo, because yeah, you get the pictures, but you know what? I look at those pictures and I think about my fucking sister-in-law who ruined half the night for me. I think about all the people who said they were gonna come, but then didn't come and we paid for them anyway. I just think about the fucking stress of the day. I mean, yeah, it was a great day. I got married to my husband who I had been with for so long. I'm still with. We're actually celebrating 10 years this year. But it was a lot for not a lot of payoff, in my opinion. The rest of the preparation seemed to go okay. They leave for the wedding. We place their bags in the room at 3 p.m. and I also clock out for the night. The next morning I walk in, excited for gossip and news on what happened when the bridal party came back after the wedding. There was none. Entire party came back completely hammered. They stumbled back to their rooms with barely a peep. We have a silly tradition of delivering champagne and chocolate-covered strawberries up to the bride and groom when they arrive back from the wedding. Room service went to deliver. We were expecting no tip and attitude from the bride, but they tipped well, and she burst into tears about how nice we were here. And isn't it nice that we are so nice? They didn't even come to the just to check out. They used the TV to check out and left the keys in the room. But guess who had to clean up and reorganize the brochures? Yep, me. Yo, can we just back it up a few steps? She attacks the front desk to give me a key, give me a key. Then she knocks over. Y'all all know what they're talking about, right? It's like a stand with vertical shelves that you put a bunch of tourist brochures of shit to do in the area. We didn't have that in our hotel, but I've been to a dozen hotels that had one of those. And she knocked that shit down, then ran to a stranger's room and started banging on the door to let them in. Ma'am, what were you going to do if they opened the door? Physically toss them out of their room? Are you good? Are you all the way okay? Because you really, truly don't seem like you are. And I feel like this is a situation where you're going to look back and realize that wedding cost you more than it was worth. Let's get to some comments. I'm not a father, but it's got to be difficult to be in that dad's position. Looking from the outside in, you love her so much, but she acts like that. And how do you put up with it? Xanax, Valium, tequila, the usual stuff, not for the father, for the daughter. No, see, the thing is that if your daughter acts like that as a grown adult, you fucked up when she was a child. You let her scream the house down to get her fucking way. And now as an adult, she has no other coping mechanisms. She has no other tools to use to get her way other than the childish antics that she pulled when she was younger. You have not equipped her to be an adult and deal with things in an adult-like manner. That's completely on y'all. Last comment says, this is a good lesson in managing others' expectations. This whole thing played out like that scene in Dumb and Dumber where Jim Carrey says, so what you're saying is there's a chance. She obviously wasn't listening to what you were saying, but when that became apparent, it would have been a good idea to flat out deny her request for an early check-in so there was no ambiguity for her to manipulate. That is true. I guess, isn't that what they kind of did when they got another reservation? They told her, no, they did say a slim microscopic possibility. Yeah, that would have been the opportunity to just tell her no. You cannot give people like that even a millimeter of rope because they will take it and they will run with it. And that's exactly what this psychopath did. I would like to know what you all thought about this story in the comments. Did you enjoy stories, tales from the front desk? I could do more videos like this. I was thinking about doing a body cam video sometime soon. You guys let me know what you think. Don't forget, we're posting 7 days a week on this video, 6 days a week. The videos are coming from the vault, and 1 day a week, you'll be getting a fresh, new, rejuvenated video from your girl. Now, please don't forget to don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.